There is a certain kind of exhaustion that no amount of sleep can fix. It settles deep in the chest, not in the muscles or the bones, but somewhere quieter, somewhere closer to the soul. It is the exhaustion of giving everything you have to someone who never once turned around to notice. Most people know this feeling. They just never had the words for it. It begins innocently enough. A friendship, a relationship, a connection that once felt warm and mutual. There is laughter. There is trust. There are late nights and long conversations, and the slow, beautiful belief that this person sees you for who you truly are. And for a while, it feels real. For a while, it is enough. But then, almost without warning, the weight shifts. The texts go unanswered a little longer each time. The plans made are the plans cancelled. The energy flows in only one direction, outward, always outward, and never comes back. And instead of stepping away, instead of asking the quiet, necessary question of why, something inside tightens. Something inside decides to try harder. So the chasing begins. Another message sent. Another invitation extended. Another explanation rehearsed in the dark before sleep comes, a speech for a conversation that never happens. The mind begins to negotiate with itself, building elaborate reasons for the other person's absence. They are busy. They are stressed. They care, they just don't know how to show it. These are the stories told, not because they are true, but because the truth is too sharp to hold with bare hands. And here is where the real damage is done. Not in the rejection itself, but in the response to it. In the slow, silent decision to shrink, to become smaller, quieter, more agreeable, in the hope that if enough edges are sanded down, there will finally be room in this person's life. The tragedy is not that someone failed to love back. The tragedy is that in trying so desperately to earn their attention, a person begins to forget their own worth entirely. Days turn into months. The pursuit continues. More energy poured into a vessel with no bottom. And beneath the surface, something is breaking, not loudly, not all at once, but the way old bridges break, one quiet fracture at a time, until one day the weight of it all becomes too much to carry and everything gives way. That is what happens when the wrong people are chased too long. They do not break the heart in a single moment. They drain it, slowly, drop by drop, until a person wakes up one morning and no longer recognizes the face looking back from the mirror. But here is what no one talks about enough. The moment the chasing stops is not a moment of failure. It is the first moment of freedom. There is a shift that happens, quiet at first, almost imperceptible, when a person finally chooses to stop running after someone who was walking away. It feels like loss at the beginning, because it is. It feels like grief, because it should. Something real is being let go of, even if that thing was mostly a hope and not a reality. Grief for what could have been is still grief. It deserves to be honored. But on the other side of that grief, something extraordinary waits. Stillness. Space. The slow, aching return of self-respect. Because the energy that was once spent chasing someone who didn't look back, that same energy belongs to the one who gave it. It was never borrowed. It was never owed. It was always, entirely, theirs. And the moment that truth lands, really lands, is the moment healing begins. People who are meant to stay do not have to be begged. They do not require a constant performance of worthiness. They do not make someone feel like a burden for simply existing. Real connection, the kind that is nourishing, the kind that lasts, flows both ways without effort. It breathes. It rests. It shows up not because it has to, but because it wants to. Not everyone who enters a life is meant to remain in it. Some people arrive as lessons. Some arrive as mirrors, showing something that needs to be seen, a pattern, a wound, a boundary that was long overdue. And once that lesson is learned, once the reflection is finally understood, their role is complete. Holding on to them past that point is not loyalty. It is self-abandonment dressed up as love. The most powerful thing a person can do, perhaps the most courageous thing, is to look at a relationship that is slowly hollowing them out and choose themselves instead. Not out of anger. Not out of pride. But out of a deep, quiet understanding that they deserve to be in spaces where they are celebrated, not merely tolerated. Where their presence adds to a room rather than going unnoticed in one. This is not about becoming cold. This is not about closing the heart. It is about learning, finally, painfully, beautifully, that the heart is worth protecting. The right people will not make someone beg for a seat at the table. They will pull out the chair themselves. So let the ones who choose to leave, leave. Let the silence say everything the words never could. Turn around, not in bitterness, but in peace, and walk toward the life waiting just beyond the chasing, just beyond the exhaustion, just beyond the version of the self that forgot it was enough. Because it always was. And the moment that truth is believed, truly, deeply believed, is the moment everything changes. Not because the world shifts, but because the person inside it finally does.